Session 40.
Session, midlife crisis.
I haven't even hit. That's. I don't know. We'll see.
50?
Who knows? I'll let you know. You can let me know when you spot it. Anyway. All right. When we last left our heroes, they were in another place, another time.
Again?
Again. I mean, it doesn't happen a lot. Just all the time.
Again, did I miss a time?
Well, we went to the Sepia-verse.
That wasn't.
Some of us did.
That wasn't as collectively involving as this one. This is the first, let's call it family vacation. Winnebago, flying Winnebago and all. Tearing out, running the tunnel down through space and time, and Phoenix coming out and clawing itself to a stop, and Harry pulling up and seeing Bot there. Let's get. I kind of want to use that same blasted hellscape of Washington, but oh, you know what? We had you guys put one of the. I should have saved that. Maybe I did save it. Hang on.
We had a number of Sepia-verse images.
Well, yeah, no, I was thinking of
that weren't specifically Washington-based.
I was thinking of the. Hang on. Supers, masks. Well, that isn't where I meant to save that. There you go. Batman Gotham. I should save that. Save image as.
That's actually on the wiki. It's the cover art for the last issue.
Perfect.
Ah, right.
Supers. Lovely. Just drag that in here and paste it over top of everything. So Bot was there. Or someone that you assume is Bot because he sure looks like he should be a bot named Bot. And he sees Harry skid to a top in front of him and says, "Harry?" Oh yeah. It's not blasted wasteland as much. If you're just looking at the city parts of it, this stands up. It's the shiny kind of dystopia. There we go. Save image and oh, stuff. Really? All right, and he says Harry, and I'm going to make Harry type. So I will say, Harry, what do you do? Since Harry's throat is on the fritz, so to speak. I lost that one. Who are you? Well, I mean, and then he kind of tracks to, without really answering, He kind of tracks to the plane, sort of half rolling and half walking back. I keep thinking of the like pteranodons, like how they walk on their wings, the really big ones. That seems somehow appropriate. And seeing Otto detach kind of from the body. Vector gets over there pretty quick and he's like, it's okay, they're with me. They like figured out everything. And when Otto detaches, he kind of goes, oh. That same kind of like sort of, I've just been sort of softly punched in the gut kind of that Rook's Rossum made when Arya walked into the room. Timeline. Can't hear you. Okay, wait. I gotta make sure it's. I'm just checking to see what Harry's saying and make sure he can hear me. Oh. Harry remembers all the timeline talks that he's been lectured on. To be fair, you did not technically travel use your powers to travel in time. Somebody else used their powers and time travel happened to you. You can claim innocence at the 6-month family review of your actions. Robo dinosaur dragon walking around. Yeah. Huh? No. No, please no. Not that. I need a picture of those pteranodons walking, the big ones, the Quetzalcoatlus or something like that. He I gotta think about this for a second. He just kind of, when he sees Otto, he kind of gets tense and it almost looks like he's going to raise a weapon, but you realize it's really just sort of a flinch reflex. Like he's bringing up his arm to kind of hold it in front of his face rather. One of the smaller arms, and it sort of mirrors with the bigger ones. I'm not who you think I ought to be. But can we just table this for 10 minutes so we can get out of here before anybody comes and tries to track down that energy signature? I want to talk to all of you. I'll explain everything, but we can't do it here. We'll get nuked from orbit. Is that anybody? His voice is pretty heavily.
Seems reasonable enough to me.
His voice is pretty heavily like modulated, like mechanically modulated. So it's half familiar, kind of, not really. Alicia, did we decide? Did you finally decide that you've got the air cycle?
Yeah, I've got the air cycle.
The V cycle, the V cycle, the vesicle. Okay, so it makes sense to you, says Alicia, leaning oh so casually on the bike that she absolutely loves, or leaning the bike. What say anybody else?
Leo will go along with this as well once he gets out. I will note as a player that one of the flaws that the Kirby craft has is easily detectable. So he's going to dispatch Phoenix to go just fly around somewhere, and we'll signal it to show up later.
Okay. All right. So go explore, hunt, or not hunt, probably avoid hunting. There are big scary
big
things
scary.
around.
Go be cool somewhere that you're not going to get noticed.
Okay. Sounds good. It takes off seaward, or where seaward would be if this is all if the orientation all holds, which it really should. Goes seaward and circumnavigates goes around the city. So big southward looping path. And the bot's just kind of staring at Leo, or bot is, not the bot. Yeah. Hang on. Yeah, sure. Just Vector, can you pick up all the Margie, you're micing up. Vector, can you pick up the beacons and stuff? And let's get out of here. So he's got kind of a rocket propulsion plasma antigrav sort of thing. Looks built into the system. It's kind of like Otto flying, and although the emissions are lower, and it's definitely the word that keeps coming to your mind, and this is true for Alicia, this is true for Leo, and Otto even kind of quietly comments on it, is cobbled. It's definitely other tech kind of all brought together. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of the Achilles chin stuff. It's the first pass draft of let's take Otto's plasma stuff, propulsion wise, and get it off the ground more easily using the anti-grav thing that we stole off this other tech from Achilles chin, that kind of stuff.
Sort of the Ironmonger rockets versus the Iron Man.
Yeah.
Propulsion.
Yeah, for sure. And that, but I mean, no, it's low enough emission stuff because it's meant to be low signature.
Sure, but it's
big, kind of fat stuff, and then any propulsion stuff is basically like, oh, there's these two rings kind of bolted around the shoulder, where the rotator cuffs would be on a human are kind of bolted on there as like for the lift. That are sort of like the Alicia, you would recognize sort of the chin anti-grav hover stuff, kind of bolted on there. It's not elegant, it's not integrated, it's not studied, adapted, and then implemented type of stuff. It's just like, this thing does this thing, let's staple it onto this machine and make it do this thing. Leo's not going to know the serial numbers for that kind of tech, but he's going to recognize the kind of work that it is. It's not nearly as, I mean, this picture, if anything, it's way more integrated in the image than it would be. It's all borrowed tech, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Dave, can you find the swamp base that you pitched for Leo, or pitched for James?
Sure.
Since we're not going to use it, let's use it.
While you're doing that, Doyce, your description of the robot body just reminded me of the reference from EVE Online again, which is for the Caldari, there's ship designers who build the left side of the ship and a team that builds the right side of the ship. They never meet.
Yeah, they in fact, they have like certain contractual obligations not to even email. They're both there's a really weird, oh God, I'm trying to think now what I was thinking of. There's a certain series of shows, Dollhouse, Battlestar Galactica, oh God, Orphan Black, where it's kind of like all those writing teams were given the same ingredient list and said make a show, and even certain plot beats, and then they came up with different stuff. And that's kind of like, it's like two different design teams for the Kaldari were given the exact, the basic specs of what we want to accomplish. And I actually think it's like the decision-making committee for the military is just like, well, both of these designs are good. Let's use them both. You want to make 2 ships? No, we're going to make 1 ship. We're just going to use both these designs because they're both so good, and put them together and make them twice as good, right? No, they won't. It's a little bit more. It's very junkyard tech. It's very much like scavenge, but it's certainly a place that you've been, Leo. But you take this stuff and go, okay, well, what is this component? And now I understand this component. Then I will make my own version of this component out of these parts that the original component was made out of. And I will both own it in the process of adapting it and recreating it, but also more fully integrate it into my tech. And even the less integrated solutions that you've come up with in the past, like Summer's shell, that just, I don't want to say crudely, but in a basic alpha draft, basically has a space to store the other hologram version of her, is much more integrated than any of this. This is like, oh, this piece levitates. I'm going to bolt it on here. And you may even see evidence where it's like, oh, it was attached, and it wasn't attached strongly enough to deal with the lift problems. So it's been reattached after the metal started to tear, kind of, type of stuff. And that isn't representative of the setting. That's how this tech seems to work.
Is it like the person who put it together is not a super genius?
Yes. That would be somebody who's really smart and really mechanically minded and doesn't fully grok the tech. Like they understand the tech as terms of what it does, and they're
that whole reason why hypertech can't be mass produced.
Well, yeah, it's not really reproducible unless you're also a hypergenius. And you can go, well, I mean, it's a lot of what, say, Rook does is go, well, now that we know, we may not understand how the laws of physics seem to be getting circumvented here, but we know that this is possible. And we're going to come up with a cheaper, less efficient, less powerful, but still workable copy or facsimile.
And reproducible copy
of this thing, and we're going to make a bunch of them. And this is kind of on that level, but without the analysis team. It's more like, this thing is this. I don't need to make 50 of them. I need to make this one work, and I will figure out how to bolt it on here and take multiple attempts to do that. So yeah, it's that. Okay, so did you link that? Oh, I didn't mean the image. I meant the actual write-up of the thing because I can't remember exactly. But anyway, he gets you to kind of a swampy area. We're in a bay area, so it's not hard to. I mean, some swamp areas, and sort of activates something on this, in this suit somewhere. And this was the thing. Was it actually like Legion of Doom thing where it would like rise up out of the swamp? How was the access?
Yes.
I can't remember. Yeah, so it was kind of a right.
Okay, it was, except that part was the part that wasn't working on this abandoned base anymore. So
in this one it works.
Actually, it dived down into the water past the crocodiles to go in. But aside from that, it was.
Yeah. I think. So it doesn't rise up, but he has like worked out some kind of like hidden access point that's like, it looks like a stump, and then you shove the stump over, and there's like, shoving the stump, like some sort of big access tunnel about 20 feet across, big enough for him to get through, so big enough for Otto to get through. opens up, and you can kind of drop down into that, and then it covers itself back up. And it's it's just, we just need to, once this thing is open, we need to get in fast, kind of thing. And then it's down through basically like sort of a big steam tunnel kind of a deal, and out into this long abandoned, but clearly at some point in time, some sort of like super group base that clearly has been out of use for at least 50 years, if not much longer. So really take Legion of Doom headquarters and cross it with the workshop where the Vulture hangs out in Spider-Man Homecoming. A lot of that kind of stuff. Just a lot of work tables. Nothing homey by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of chop shop mechanics that are working with tech they don't fully understand. But by the time you guys get in there, Vector's been like sort of having a quick, like sort of murmured conversation with Bot. He kind of says, it's not much, and there's some old beat up like couches and crates and stuff that have cushions like sort of stapled to them, like with an industrial stapler, like a consortium stapler or something like that. That sort of thing. There's enough places to kind of sit or anything like that. Okay. I committed all the fouls on this one, I think. So, yeah. All right. Harry, you wanted to know who I was. I used to be, and yeah, I think this is how this works. He kind of like reaches up, and it's not like it doesn't retract or anything. It doesn't peel back or do anything like Iron Man fancy or anything like that. He does like kind of a little sideways kind of decoupling twist with the helmet and pulls it off, and the voice doesn't modulate anymore. And the guy's in his 50s. Looks like he's in his 50s, maybe. I used to be the guy you know as Leo Snow.
Go fuck yourself.
Okay. I mean, I mean, can you phrase that in the form of a question?
Will you please go fuck yourself?
I mean, have you looked at where I live? So, I mean, I think I'm ahead of you on that one. Real Leo. Call you Real Leo. How is Bill, how is Summer reacting either to your reaction or to this guy?
Well, Summer's not here.
Oh, not Summer. I'm sorry. Area. My bad. You said Area was coming, right?
Yeah. She would probably feel about what Leo feels, which is disbelief. This is very out of character for what he would do. This is very out of character for who he would be. And so she's waiting to be convinced.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, how much do you guys want me to just, I don't know.
We want to hear everything, so just
Okay.
cut to the chase with the info dump, and because otherwise, I want to hear everything. I don't know about them, but I want to hear everything.
And
Oh.
let me put it this way as well. The original request, if I recall correctly, was for access to my technology. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, I didn't specifically send a request, I guess. Yeah, we were aiming to get our hands on the heart machine, on a heart
Okay.
machine.
Oh, there was no request. You just bombed us for fun. Okay, good.
No, I mean, Vector told me that he explained we just didn't want to affect the timeline because, you know, we didn't want to cause this to happen, and you guys had gotten past all the bad stuff, basically. So, you know, it was it just seemed like the best. It just seemed like the best way to get what we, you know, what I thought might help, and not affect you guys very much.
Right. Well, all the things that you sent a bomber back to attempt to murder us for are in that big flying metal bird outside. And when it comes back, it will have laid an egg. It's going to go back with us. And when that egg hatches, you will have everything that you want. If you can befriend it.
I'm not sure I remember how any of that stuff works.
Well, it's easy. It's very easy. There's no technical required. In fact, you just need to not be a douchebag.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
God damn it.
Okay, so did you guys? Okay. Numa, when did you? I mean, you're still with Leo. Are you with Leo? Did anybody ever kidnap you? I gotta figure out where we split. I never quite figured that part out from just like watching. So, did anybody ever grab you at all?
I think this is just where we tell them the story about Rook.
Okay. All right. So, okay. Yeah, that pretty much matches up. Well, the start of it does. There wasn't an airport. It was a. She went to Japan and followed a couple of leads and sort of found a base where my dad was at, I guess, and he got his hands on her, and Rook got her hands on him, and it got pretty bad before we found out what had happened. She never really vocalized after we found her again, and I didn't handle that very well. Probably things got really bad. I left the menagerie with Numa, my Numa, not you, Numa. And I went after Rook and my dad. Well, I guess it wasn't my dad. I thought it was my dad at the time. I found out later it wasn't my dad. Agents had been lying to me, and they didn't tell me any of that. So they eventually, it was just this mess. So in my timeline, there was another kind of copy of me. I don't know if that happened with you, but there was another copy of me, and they reactivated him to figure out what I was going to do. And then they had him working with my real dad that I didn't know about. And so they were coming after me, and the dad that I thought was my dad was working with Rook, and I was going after them. And then then the menagerie got involved again, and there was this damage to the world on top of that, and Vutovia. It was just all going so badly sideways. Vutovia got a hold of some Kino, like some Kinoms, and a bunch of people disappeared. Rook, because of all the damage that was happening in the city, managed to convince the Menagerie to work with them to try to stabilize all the damage that was in the city and spreading. It went on for about a year before they finally tried to stop me from interfering with Rook, because they needed Rook's help with the stuff that was going on in the city. And where's Jason? Like, why isn't he here? And it's what's weird about that is he wasn't leading up to that. He just got to that part of the story and the thought finally occurred to him. Like, he wasn't thinking about it. Did you guys... And he kind of squints at Alicia like maybe...
Am I masked?
No, yeah, you would be. Never mind.
Okay.
So, I mean...
No, at that point, to that question, I will actually go ahead and pull off the mask, or pull down the mask.
And his eyes kind of get a little bit wider because he's got chin tech, so he knows, he knows who the chins are and stuff like that. And with this timeline, it would have come up a lot more because of the whole Vutovia thing. Jesus, you guys killed him? Did you kill him?
No. Surprisingly, no.
Why isn't he here? I mean, I guess, like, is he still with you guys?
He's on leave.
Okay. But okay.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
You mentioned your companion Numa.
Yeah.
Who had been kidnapped by Rook.
Yeah, and my Rook, the clone of my dad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about her?
Just noting the name and the outcome.
What do you mean the outcome? She was violated repeatedly and became non-verbal because of what my dad did to her. And he actually, there's still a lot of banked anger there, even after what has to be 30 years and change.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Alicia,
Am I resolving a bet that I don't know about?
No, just pointing out perhaps another difference, or just pointing out another difference in the timeline.
Okay. I mean, what difference? That's, and he kind of looks at Arya and is like, is it you? I mean, you lived, right? I mean, you're okay. And he looks at Leo and says, she's okay, right?
She underwent a little bit of stress, and there's two of them now. The other one stayed behind. And
yeah, the fuck did you just say? Kind of sideways head tilt, double eye blinking. There's, with the other one. Oh, that, huh? Yeah, that would have. Yeah, we didn't have the other one.
Okay, listed.
So anyway, I got in a fight with the Menagerie, and Jason Quill took my powers away. Short version. He did something with his bots, and they got in my head and just undid me. That was 32 years ago. And then he kept working with Rook, and they save the world and run everything now. What? I mean, I swear he can do that kind of thing. I mean, he doesn't do it a lot, but he does do it.
I believe you. I believe you. Oh, he's done it to others?
I mean, yeah, when you get ones that don't, I mean, there's rumors. They don't ever like, it's not like they televise it or anything. I mean, it's not it's not the Hunger Games or something, but I mean, yeah, there's some people that have done stuff and now they're, nobody. I mean, I'm still me,
I suppose if Leo can end up like you, then Jason could end up like this Jason.
Like, wow. So Leo to me, I mean, it's been a while since I've done those word association things, but Leo to me is your Jason to a, dictatorial, like, monster who tears people's essences out of them. Wow. I guess I need to shower more.
It's not like we haven't seen some other parallel situations.
Oh, I'm quite aware of that.
So I've been trying to make do. It's like I know, it's like I've read all the books on everything, but there's stuff I'm not good at anymore. And a lot of it is the tactics, figuring out how things go together. And some of that is understanding. I mean, when you understand what a person's going to do and can guess what a person's going to do, that's kind of understanding how they think. And I got really bad at that. So I don't have, we don't have much in the way of allies, do we, Vector? So I'm not sure about the egg thing, that befriending thing. I don't know if I do that. I don't know if I think understanding what everybody's point of view was and being able to like talk to them was part of my superpowers. My whatever stuff. 'Cause I'm pretty shit at it now.
You feel like you gave up, man.
No, I've been fighting for 30 years. What are you talking about giving up? I didn't give up. I've been trying to figure out some way of taking what I know and putting it back into a body that might have the abilities again, or at least give my memories to somebody that can do some good with them. I mean, I lost Numa, and I can't find Otto, and nobody in the team. I mean, they're either gone or don't talk to, and I never really, I was only on the team for like, what, a week and a half. It's not like anybody really knew who I was, so I can't like go out and reach out to other. I'm still out here and I'm still doing stuff 30 years later. Rook hasn't been able to put me away, and they haven't been able to hunt me down. Now there's a whole lot of stuff to unpack here that you guys can do assesses on or whatever, or provokes, or any other kind of stuff you have going on.
Well, I got him talking, so I'm piercing the mask at this point. Yeah.
Okay. Mercury unfortunately isn't, but still, don't worry, future Leo. Everyone is here. This is where Harry will give future Leo a bag of. Did you actually bring chips on the time travel? Seriously? Because if so, awesome. Of course I did.
I thought he ran to the nearest gas station and picked some up.
Those are all GPS tagged now. So yeah, you
Dark
can
dystopia flavor.
Yeah. So yeah, pierce the mask sounds certainly. I mean, either one applies certainly.
I've got angry marked right now, so I'm a penalty, but I would be angry anyway. So like if I didn't have it marked, to be like, can I please mark angry?
Can I be angry? I'd like to be angry at this point. Yeah, you can always be angry. Yeah. Go ahead on the pierce them. Oh, a 5. Yikes. Wow.
I'll help with that.
I mean, anybody can help. I'm never going to stop anybody from helping. I want to observe the potential poetry of having Leo be too angry to make sense of this guy.
I actually prefer that solution.
I mean, if that appeals to you, then don't ask for don't ask for the help, because just I can see Leo just storming out of the room, or what actually with this. So I'm going to ask 2 questions. One is, in trying to get through this and trying to understand this guy and trying to pierce the mask, trying to see what the heck is making this guy tick. You were already angry. What further condition does that, trying to see that side of things and trying to put yourself in his situation to understand it?
That's firmly afraid, because what this guy is now within the realm of possibility.
Yes and no, but for right now, I'm going to let Leo just continue to think. Yeah, I mean, this is my future. This is a potential future. Now, anybody who backtracks through this realizes that you sidestep whatever reality this is branched from. It's branched from you didn't take this branch. You're not on this.
I don't mean that a series of causal events will lead this Leo to be this guy. It's more like the mindset that he occupies now is something I could be. I could think like this.
Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, there's all kinds of things. So afraid, and what does that then? So taking that, then what does Leo do? What happens as he's trying to even voice or put together a question or something to ask this guy? What actually happens when this settles on him?
I think he's going to go with his first instinct, which is to challenge Bot and say, "You need to show me your Numa, and I will fix her."
I mean, does it have to be me? I mean, I can take you down there. I can have you go down there, but can Vector take you?
I guess he has to, because you're not man enough to do it yourself.
I mean, yeah, no. What you can sure get you, yeah. And he kind of sort of does this sort of half, I don't even want to fully make the gesture thing to Vector, and Vector's like, now so let me ask you this, because literally everybody who came with you, who's part of the Newman family, would go with you unless you want one of them to stay in this scene. So
they are all staying here.
Okay,
and we'll be very clear on that.
All right. So Arya will stay here and Ada will stay here. They both like look the question at you, and you.
He will actually tell Arya something that nobody else gets to hear.
Okay, what's that?
What he's going to tell her is, this guy needs you now more than ever. Do what you can for him, because I'm useless.
Okay. All right. He's not you. He's never going to be you. That's all she says about that.
Well, you're good for people other than me too. So
I didn't mean it that way. It wasn't meant to be a protest of I can't, of she can't help him. It was meant to be a, this is not a potential future kind of.
Oh yeah, but Leo,
Yeah. But Leo didn't take it that way.
Through to Leo just yet. So
I understand. See, I just want to make sure that it's Leo that doesn't get what I'm saying, and not you that doesn't get what I'm saying.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I just double checking because this is a complicated situation. Okay, so Leo taps out on this particular tag team. Who's taking up the who's leaping into the ring on this guy? Anybody can. Everybody's got, I mean, not everybody, but different people have certainly skin in the game. Alicia, obviously, given what he said Jason did, you have sort of firsthand knowledge of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She's got your tone here. I really want to, actually, I don't have to wonder. What is going on in Alicia's head here? Because she's like she's sounding like half angry, half I told you so. I'm not sure what I'm reading here.
Well, a part of it is she's taking a little bit of pleasure in seeing sort of a fallen Leo figure.
Because he's generally so damned.
He's generally so damn noble and heroic, and the guy in charge, and she's got her own problems with some of the things that he's done, or she assumes that he's done.
Right.
She's trying to figure out how she feels about the whole what Jason did here thing. And she's probably defaulting mostly to that's the Jason here versus my Jason, who I know has much better control over this whole thing and wouldn't be going around just like, using his nanobots to pit everyone.
I'm just double
really specific individuals. And she's also kind of wondering,
I want to double check my understanding that somewhere in Alicia's head, the sentence the Jason I know has much better control over what he's doing. That's a sentence that Alicia actually strung together in her head at some point during this thought process.
Maybe not better control, but
I just want to make sure.
Better
restraint, better moral
restraint. He wouldn't do that sort of thing.
The context here seems
lightly.
to be, the context here seems to have been that whatever he thought he was doing initially with this Leo was
that was the thing that had to be done in order to save the world because of
reasons.
And
once that door's open, he just keeps finding reasons.
Well, and probably Rook had an influence as well, so
sure.
She's going to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt there. All that having been said, she's kind of curious and is making some assumptions, but would love to figure out a way to confirm them, that the whole Byron Achilles off in the Sepia-verse thing
in this
timeline was never actually resolved. Presumably it happened, and presumably they're in the Sepia-verse doing their thing over there, because that happened before the apparent split in this world. Presumably there was no resolution to that.
Well, Viertovia happened.
Right.
Viertovia and therefore the Hidden Family happened. They accomplished what they demonstrably more than they accomplished in your timeline in terms of acquiring keynomes, that sort of thing.
It's reducing the potential of this.
Well, yeah, but not mathematically significantly, because there are enough keynomes on the regular. I mean, this is still pretty good, but with that kind of firepower and able to accomplish whatever it was that they ultimately ended up doing, things did not probably bode well in the Sepia-verse for Byron and his meager band of misfits, because they would have been able to generally do a lot more with a couple of keynomes.
Right.
They had one, throw another one in there, and whatever, that gives them a 2-to-1 advantage against the people that numerically they were already well in advance of. Maybe they put themselves back where they were. Who knows? So as far as what's going on in the Sepia-verse, that's an extra level of Inception down.
Right. She's only interested insofar as, she wants to make sure that
my
she's
dad's not going to
run
pop up.
Yeah, she's not going to run into her dad here, which is actually probably only at that point that she says, "Huh, I wonder what happened to me here."
Who's me? I mean, no offense, but who are you? I mean, you're here and I don't know you. He kind of holds out his hand to Concord, and he's like, and you're here, and that's awesome, because you look like you're probably 5 or 6 years older than you were when I knew you, and you didn't last 2 weeks after. I mean, you weren't even on the team by the time Jason and I don't.
Just to interrupt, Joyce, and please forgive me if you already covered this.
Sure. Yeah.
I had to step away for a minute.
No, it's cool.
Did he say what the argument was?
He was he was in the process of going after Rook and his clone dad. Apparently things got to the tipping point there, or the breaking point, and in an effort to stop him from doing whatever it was that he was about to do to Rook, because they needed Rook to save the world, save the city, whatever. Whatever it was that he was doing at that point in time, Jason took his capacity away to implement it through basically the same processes that he did to his dad and Achilles back in the Sepia-verse. But it was kind of like, big showdown in Halcyon City. Save Rosa Rook, because we need Rook for X, whatever X happened, and Rook and the Menagerie and all of their stuff seems, in that context of what he was saying, to have been wrapped up in solving or you have to wonder, exploiting, because they're winning everything now, right? They run the world, controlling in some way, shape, or form, mastering the wounds, the damage to the world kind of thing. And they needed Rook for that. And you can't help but think that there's a little seed of that echo of that kind of agreement in that whole pitch that Rook made to Jason not so very long ago about the turning the apartment complex into the hospital. I mean, take that, roll it up, change the situation so the influences and the people involved are different. In that scenario, that conversation, the way this guy is talking, based on what he said, the way Bot is talking, I'm just going to say Bot because it's simpler. The way Bot's talking, by the time that conversation would have happened with Rook, Concord wouldn't have been part of it. Wouldn't have been part of the team. He wouldn't have been around, because this guy said he didn't last more than a couple weeks after, timeline-wise, the whole situation with Rook at the airport, and it seems to match up somewhat to, if not the actual events timeline-wise, that wasn't very far in with the group. Week or two, maybe. And so take Leo out of the equation from that point forward, and out of the team equation from that point forward, and Concord from this guy's point of view just vanished. So he wasn't around to have the conversation with Jason afterwards. Concord's connection, Concord, at least initially, was one of the first people that Charlotte socketed into the team with, and sort of had interaction with. Harry was there also, but there's some of that.
Wait.
Yeah.
In this Justice Lord's analogy, I'm the Flash.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that awesome? I can't decide if that's awesome or not. Yeah.
It didn't get shot by Lex Luthor.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but it's not exactly Justice Lords, because he hasn't seen Charlotte in years, and he'll kind of point, it's like, I haven't seen you in years. You weren't around until whatever. Harry, you were one of the, we were in touch until probably about 2 years ago, and then nobody's seen you for a really long time since then. I mean, no one's seen you since then, and I just kind of figured that they got you, or Jason did something. I don't know. I don't know.
So, I have a question that I'm going to ask Bot here.
Okay.
It's basically just following up on what he was saying about, Concord leaving the team. It's just like, so were we friends?
I mean, we were starting to be. We fought that one space chick and that bug in the school, and you used to, and he gets this kind of like smile, like, you used to, like, everything was weird with you. Like, that was the word you used all the time, and I would like, here, I don't know, my timeline, I would like, whenever you said that, I would like take your food to try to, get you not to do it, and just kind of like, articulate it, I guess, or something. And I don't know, it became like a thing. It was not for long, obviously, but we didn't really ever have a chance to talk, and I always thought I would be able to kind of like get you to convince them, and then the next time we really kind of all saw each other, you weren't there. I don't know whatever happened to you. There hasn't been anyone like you around for, well, okay, that's not true. I mean, the space chick's been around somewhat. They see her here and there, but there hasn't been like a Concord here. I think you left. I mean, or quit.
So Doyce,
yeah.
For this,
Mm-hmm.
Can I, in a roundabout fashion, assess the situation?
Sure. Like, given all the information, I mean, he's given you information. He's got certain ticks and tells. He's probably got like an access, like some sort of history database, although that's fraught. Looking at like historical databases and stuff from the future is all kinds of potential risks there and stuff. He doesn't really know what happened with Charlotte, but he thinks that something that she's, she fixed the wounds are basically under control, but nobody's really seen her, but she was always kind of like behind the scenes anyway, so he doesn't really know what's going on there. It's not like she ever, showed up or anything like that. But,
After Mike's got
okay, so
does what he does, I've got something.
So what
That occurs
you
to
say
me.
a roundabout way? What do you mean a roundabout way assessing the situation?
No, I guess Pierce the Mask would do it too. So,
Okay. All
yeah,
right.
Pierce the Mask seems a lot more reasonable here. So let's see, Monday.
Otto and Numa are kind of talking to each other. A little bit before Numa says more, but yeah, you can do a piece of the mask.
All right. Very odd question.
Mm-hmm.
Would we have influence over him?
Wow. No, it's not an odd question. It's an odd thing to think about. Concord, you would. Yeah, I think
Arya would.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Arya would for sure, and Otto. Definitely. Okay, so that's an 8. Pierce the mask. See the person beneath, roll. Ask 3 or ask 1. I mean, we can definitely throw some team on that, because certainly Alicia's been kind of like analyzing his patterns and stuff like that. Numa and Otto can absolutely step up on this. Oh, Harry, you would have influence too. You'd probably have stronger influence than anybody. Not that there's really a rating on that, but Harry would definitely have influence over this guy, because he was actually sort of in contact with you until not that long ago. It was just him and a couple of speedsters.
Yep. Harry wins. Harry wins the friendship race.
Yeah. You're the Flash in that way, yeah, pretty much. Okay, so does anybody want to try to push him up to a 10 or no?
Oh, I'll lend a hand.
Okay. So
and Harry will help.
Is it Harry?
Yep.
Okay. So in what way are you, because I guess, so let's hang this on some sort of question or conversational gambit or something like that, Adam, that you are working on. What do you?
Well, if we had gone,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, if we had gone the assess situation route, I would have asked, what hero can I use to confirm that this really is alternate future Leo?
Yeah. I
mean, but for this, the question I would be like, how do I get your character to prove he's future alternate Leo here?
Okay. What I was thinking though is kind of like in the actual conversation, like what are you? I want like a in fiction, you know what I mean, like some sort of verbal ploy here, well, that Alicia and Harry can kind of hang off of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just not like.
What is that? What was that? So you
on the ball too much today.
What were you looking for the question? You were looking for like, how can I get you to sort of prove this, I guess?
Yeah, and that was kind of where I led in with the whole, were we friends question.
So Harry's got a good in there where he starts, like, tell me about like what was our time together, like what we did, what we spent. Well, yeah, I mean, you were for the longest time, you were the only one with real powers. You helped me scavenge, like recover stuff, steal tech. They still don't really have a speedster. Or at least, I mean, we've never run into one. So stopping you is a pain. And, so you would steal stuff and get the tech together. They tried. I mean, Rook's been trying to do speedsters for, long before all this stuff happened 30 years ago. They've been after the, tech that would do what the Gale family could do for years. And they got pretty close. And Harry got a hold of that tech and took it away and helped me finish it, sort of. And that's Vector. I mean, it's not Vector. Vector is Vector, but that's the suit. That was as close as they ever got, and we took their prototype. So, I don't know how close they're ever going to get again. But I mean, and then, you know, once we got that working, then he taught him. He doesn't, you know, he was, you know, he's probably never going to say anything, but it's kind of weird for him to meet somebody, you know, meet the Harry that doesn't know some of the stuff that our Harry taught him, or showed him or anything. We talked about that a lot before he left. He was really nervous about running into you again. He figured it would be probably the hardest part of it. I didn't know if that was true, but I don't know how that actually shook out in the actual thing. But so that's part of where he goes with that. What has happened to the Gale family? I'm really concerned. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of questions there. The HHL, the Heroes League, the HHL was basically wiped out during the Viertovia thing. So as bad as that got on your side, functional members of the HHL were just not to be found after the big Viertovian move to get a hold of the Kenomes. So, and it wasn't long after that. It's actually where things really, from this guy's timeline, the point at which Jason sort of does what he does with Leo in this timeline is not very far ahead, sort of, in your timeline, in the sense that a lot of what's happened that they're talking about have happened, and then all that stuff shook down while you guys were working on the Wounds of the World, and that's sort of what you're working on right now. So somewhere in here, in this other hell timeline, would have been when all the, you know, horrible happened. But by this point in time, in your own personal timeline, like basically when all the Viertovia stuff went down, would have been when Harry, instead of like Harry's dad in the hospital, it was Harry with no family. Well, not no family, but all, you know, his mom and dad missing and presumed gone and all that other kind of stuff. So pretty bleak. And then when Jason did whatever he did with, and there was a bunch of accusations going around because not everybody on the HHL was gone, as you can imagine. So when Jason pulled his thing with Leo, that was when Harry made the break, because he objected to the whole idea of doing what he did. So, and a couple months later, he showed up on my doorstep. I don't know how he found me. I think he just followed me, like too fast for me to figure it out. But that was a long time ago. So, what does Alicia, is Hecate still around? Let me parse that. I'm not sure how much he would know about that. If she is, I haven't heard anything about her. I mean, she's been off the radar since basically the Viertovian attack. She never got along with our version. I mean, our version of her she never got along with the Menagerie. And when that stuff all went down,
change.
Yeah. But yeah, who knows what actually shook out there with, that's all kind of the Viertovia stuff, which is so far off of Leo's radar that, Bot's radar, that it never really, the whole Viertovia thing was so far, he was so focused down on the Rook stuff at that point that he just wasn't tracking those. It wasn't relevant, so he wasn't paying attention to it. He doesn't necessarily know some of these answers. Alicia, what were you going to kind of Go ahead.
It's just good that while this is going on, and you can put me in the. I'm actually gonna go looking for some ghosts.
Okay, that sounds that sounds cool.
History.
Okay. I'm gonna wait on that for just a second. Alicia, do you want to do something? Or do you want or would it make more sense for Numa and Otto to say something here? I don't know.
Well,
Or
I
did you
definitely
have
have.
do you have a way to give him that last little boost?
The extra little boost to get him to spill his guts for Concord's piercing the mask?
Yes. Yeah. Or a question to ask, or an
Well, I've
observation.
got a question to ask, but I'm trying to think how to make it be something that would actually support Concord's.
Or it could, well, you could
question.
save that if it was more of an observation you were going to lend to him. What? So
I would. Okay, so I'm going to go up to him. I still have the mask off.
Sure.
And I will shake one of his small hands.
Okay.
Relatively speaking, and
Yeah.
say, Alicia Chin. So tell me again exactly what Jason did with you, and where can I find him now?
Wow. You're on the team? That is not how I would have ever guessed that shaking out.
Did things shake out differently here? Do you really know?
I mean, I mean, no. But okay, let me think about the timeline on this. At the time that he was still on the team, which would have been, I don't think at that point in time that Leo would have knew about Little Alicia, because that kind of came out with when you guys did the body swaps and stuff.
Yeah, Lil Alicia is way after that.
Well, it was like session 20 or whatever, but like all of the Alicia like AI stuff, I don't think that had. I think that all came out after like session 14, which is about when all this.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and session 14, 13, 14 is about where he stopped being in close contact with the team. So I don't think he really got he knew that Alicia was a big factor for Jason, but I don't think he got the degree of that.
Well, he would know from Jason that, and because it was actually fairly public knowledge that.
Yeah, that part, sure.
There's that part, and there's the whole Alicia is the daughter of Achilles Chin, who's the arch nemesis of Byron Quill. So there's all of that framework that he would know. He wouldn't know anything about all of the Alicia AIs. And
I don't think a lot of
the.
I mean, he's still around, so he resolved something. But I don't know to what, like how that. He doesn't know how that shook out. I mean, he's still alive, so he fixed something.
Right.
And I think Rook was in the picture sooner and deeper, and I think that distracted him from certain stuff that happened in you guys' timeline. Where is he now? He's basically running Halcyon City. I mean, Quill Industries and Rook they basically, I mean, they're 80% of the tech that's out there in the world right now for, commercial tech. And, they're the R&D arm, and then Rook's the production arm of everything. And everything, I mean, everything breaks their way, basically. I mean, that could just be they're smarter than me now, but
well, I wasn't going to say anything, but if you rotate that band there about 5 degrees more, you should improve your maneuverability in flight a good 75%. Just trust me, it's Dad's tech.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was all stuff I stole from this old warehouse that Quill had of old old tech. I got my hands on some stuff, but so what he talks a little bit about Jason, and he goes on a little bit about that. What was the question out of the list there that Concord that you were going to ask, that you were like trying to get a sense of?
Oh, the question I had was,
I think it was how can I get him to prove that he's the
Yeah.
authentic Leo?
Right.
yeah, as opposed to say, I don't know, one of the Leo copies.
One of the Leo copies.
Well, since we know that there was a Leo copy active in this world,
Yeah.
it's not a bad question.
Yeah.
Well, we have been told that there's a Leo copy of it.
Well, he said that was part of what was complicating everything, because Aegis also ended up on the
Right.
he ended up on the wrong side of Aegis, and Aegis activated some sort of copy that they were using to predict what he was going to do. So Aegis was in bed with Rook, the Menagerie was in bed with Rook,
You?
right? And yeah, they were. So that's and Snowman was somehow being used to predict this, and somehow Rossum that Aegis had access to was being leveraged, and Rossum that Rook had access to was being leveraged, and
You guys, I want to apologize for my overly complicated backstory.
no, I mean it's
This
actually
is everybody's backstory, man.
yeah, I mean it does. I mean it does touch on a lot of stuff for sure. How can I get your character to prove that you're really the real Leo?
And I will say, don't forget, Concord, weird emotional powers.
The Snowman. Here's the thing: the Snowman copy was from at some point in time, Leo dropped that bomb on everybody for real, right? You mentioned that.
He told
Yeah.
Jay,
He told Jason. Does Concord know that? Like,
I don't think so.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't think
But
most
again-
people do.
We have dealt with weird copies, though,
But
already.
I mean, assuming the copy was the way the guy said it is that this copy was made like, and was like reactivated. So it would have had to have been before you guys all know each other. And this
But
guy,
I will say there's one person in the room who absolutely can confirm it, which is Arya. And if anyone turns and looks her way, she'll be like,
yeah. And that's really where the read is at. But I mean, part of it is, and we'll just have Adam kind of do this, because she's obviously going to be like the quick read on this. But the first thought that you have, Adam, about this is if it was a clone and it was from before, or copy or whatever that happened from before, there's no way he would know about like the French fry thing and the weird thing and the stealing the food and he'd know about the fights, but he wouldn't know about those conversations. And it just it doesn't take more than halfway through the first sentence of him saying to Arya, just kind of murmuring to him, it feels like he knows stuff about how we talk to each other that a copy wouldn't know. And Arya's response is like, I'm sorry, are you trying to figure if it's actually him? It's actually him. Yeah, it's definitely actually him. There's absolutely no doubt. I think he's wrong about a couple of things, but it's him.
Yeah.
We'll throw this around here unless
I was about to say, Harry and Alicia, if you wanted the other questions off, or that I got off of that, since you helped out, feel free, because
Yeah.
that was the one I wanted.
So Harry, we'll go with Harry. All the questions off Pierce the Mask. What are you really planning? What do you want me to do? What do you intend to do? How can I get your character to blank? How could I get influence over you? Not really a question. What do you want me to do?
What do you?
You would ask about the HHL stuff and
Or your
sort of
parents.
what happened to the family and everything like that. I mean, I'm sorry, Harry. I don't know what happened to you, and I don't know. I know where he was headed last. Maybe you can figure out what happened to you. Maybe see if he's still out there. See if something happened to him? What happened to him? I mean, I'm not expecting it to be very good news, but I don't like not knowing. All I can really do is, I mean, I'm a terrier nipping at ankles, man. I'm fighting, but I'm not. And he actually looks at Arya and Otto when he says, "I'm not accomplishing very much." You know, at this point, I sometimes I think they're not. I haven't been captured not because I'm hiding very well, but because they just don't need to.
So I'm going to bridge the communication gap here because you took an earlier question that I think Harry raised, but actually the question that Harry asked him from Pierce the Mask, looking at the chat
Oh,
here,
I'm
was,
sorry.
what do you want me to do?
Right. What do you want me to do? That was the question I was asking. I mean, he's not going to outright say it, but the message there is what he would love Harry to do. What he wants Harry to do is see if he can figure out what happened to his Harry. Does that answer what the question that Harry wanted asked? I'll take that quest. I will click on that exclamation point. Or is it a question mark? It's a question mark. What about Alicia? You have a question there you want?
Oh.
Or
so
if you had
so many
another
questions, so little time.
If you had a different move that you wanted to, like, we could save that question for something else. If you had another thing you were trying to figure out or learn or whatever, because I got to get over to Charlotte here in a second as well.
So I have,
and Leo.
I'm going to take 2 questions because with Wrong Side of the Tracks, I always get an extra question in Pierce the Mask. So if you're giving me a Pierce the Mask question.
Sure. Technically, this isn't your Pierce the Mask, but fine.
I know, but you're already giving me one, so
sure.
God knows I need to be able to use some of these powers.
Does the Pierce is it a different set of questions that you get to ask with that Wrong Side of the Tracks thing, or is it different? Okay.
I get to ask an additional question when I pierce the mask of a villain. When I pierce the mask of a hero, my call, I get to add a question to the. There's a specific question I get to add to the list. I
mean, I guess the question is, does this guy count as a villain or a hero?
I'm going to consider him still a hero.
All right.
Leo's voice from the distance back. No, he's a villain.
This world's version of a hero, for whatever that's worth.
What do you intend to do with our Leo's mind mimeograph technology stuff?
He kind of lets out this pained sigh. And he keeps glancing up at Arya and Otto. I thought I could merge with Numa and she'd be okay. And then maybe she'd be able to do what I couldn't do, or what I couldn't figure out how to do. And this is my last move. I didn't know what else to try, and she always made everything better, so I thought maybe she could make this better too, if I could just make her better. And I mean, my mind's not so great. If the memories can patch up the damage that they did, I think that'd be enough. I think I would have accomplished enough if I got her back. I think that'd be good.
Well, you are clearly Leo Snow.
I mean, it's so. I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically the upshot of that, if to say it very clearly, was he was going to do, I guess, a zipper merge, not a victory merge, because that would have been like Jason and I want to make sure I'm using the terminology right, but he would have done it.
He was going to do something that would not be anywhere near what Leo is prepped for. This would be a new scenario.
Right.
Either that, or it would be extremely unlikely to succeed. So this is very much a desperation move,
right?
Which is in character.
But it sounds exactly the sort of thing, from Alicia's perspective, that Leo would do.
It's absolutely a desperation move. And it's also fair to say that, I mean, I'm not, as the GM, saying, oh no, it would work, because this Leo doesn't fully understand the tech anymore. And he wouldn't necessarily be able to make any modifications to like sort of make it more likely to work. So what would, and this is a little bit of a function of the conditions that he's been carrying around for 30 years. What would absolutely work is that whether or not it fixed Numa, it would absolutely kill him. Or end him in some fashion, probably. I shouldn't say absolutely. There's really good odds. And he's clearly got things wired. Is 100% okay with that scenario. But his idea was Numa is still a damn genius, and if I can get her working, then she can do all the stuff that I can't do. Also, I could save Numa, which was really the whole point from Forever. And he maybe finally figured out a way to do that. Or at least he thought he had. So yeah, did he send somebody back and say they'll probably survive the explosion and I won't screw up their timeline where everybody isn't completely jacked up? And even if I do kill somebody, at least I get the thing that maybe kind of lets me save Numa, and at the same time also has a reasonably good chance of making me stop hurting forever. Let's do that even if it's a shitty plan. Yeah, he'd probably do that.
Oh, so Leo Snow.
Well, I mean, I want to give the player of Leo Snow the right to say you're completely fucking wrong, man. But it seemed in character, especially because he's not smart enough to see the super genius alternatives. The better ways, the better alternatives that Leo came up with a literal wicker basket full of about 10 minutes into the conversation with Vector about how this could have been done better. Differently, more successfully, by simply asking. And for whatever reason, whether it's the lack of his Numa has thoughts, or not Numa, Area has thoughts on this, but whether it's the lack of super genius that kept him from seeing the opportunity to just go and say, hey, I need your help, and expect people to go, yes, we will help you. Whether it's that or his loss of faith in people.
Yeah, I mean, what Leo was telling him wasn't you gave up on the fight. He was really saying you gave up on hope. And
that is 100% accurate. You know, he's been fighting because I guess the best way I could sum it up is Leo's understanding of himself is about as good as like everybody but Bill's understanding of Leo circa session 3. Basically. I'm a fighter, I hit things, and I have bots that help me, and I can't really trust any of the rest of you people. That's what it looks like from the outside, and that's kind of what he started to believe he was. Not kind of. Did. Area very vehemently disagrees with the idea that it's the super genius that makes Leo capable of empathizing with other people, because she's pretty sure if you took the smart away from Leo, he's still going to care about other people.
She doesn't even have to believe that, because like we'd gone back and forth on whether his robots had inherited his like super inventive capacity.
Yeah.
My interpretation of how his power works is they can't, because it's a function of his physical brain. So
Right.
they by definition don't have
The super
like
gene.
that. Yeah, but they still turned out in a lot of cases more caring than he is.
Yeah. Or at least differently. Differently caring. Certainly more nuanced about it in some cases. How do I punch hope into these people? Yeah. So, Charlotte. I'm going to jump to Charlotte. I'm going to save Leo for a little bit longer if that's okay.
What I have is going to take a long time anyway. So
Yeah,
okay.
I had a sneaking suspicion. And Charlotte may be a fairly straightforward thing. So Charlotte, you're looking for ghosts. Where are you going to go look for ghosts?
So when we came here,
You guys were kind of outside of the city, call it 20 miles, give or take. You're not as far away from the city now because the city here is bigger. But you're still, kind of outside the city a bit. You could pretty easily sort of shadow walk to your cemetery
yeah, that's the direction I was going.
if that's where you want to.
Sort of it seems, a natural reflex of hers. To start there, especially since it's close to the probability house.
Right. Okay. So do you just kind of shadow walk until you figure like it feels like you're in the right place and then sort of step back out? Is that the general idea? It won't take very long. It's like,
Yeah.
you got the
Yeah.
league striding boots, 7 league boots or whatever of shadow walking.
Not be visible.
So when that's not a problem because you're coming out into shadow, so it's really not
Yeah.
a big problem. So when you come out, you don't come out in the cemetery. You come out on a factory floor, basically. That's your first impression, is that it's a factory floor. And it's in your understanding of factory floors, circa 1852.
Right.
So where the word factory might be just as easily applied to a meatpacking plant. It's an enormous space that you're in. It wouldn't feel this big if we're outdoors, but it's not outdoors. It's inside a building, and as such, it feels vast because of the fact that it is in a weird way, the fact that it is contained within a building makes it feel more vast than if it were just outside. But it is. And it doesn't look like this. I want to make this clear. It doesn't look like this, but it feels like that space in the Matrix where all the bodies are in the pods when Neo first wakes up. Spiritually speaking, it feels like that. It feels like energy being harvested in some kind of horrifying fashion. But ultimately horrifying, yet ultimately mechanical fashion. Okay? Ghosts. There isn't any. The overwhelming feeling here is, and honestly, you've never been really able to really put your finger very easily on that feeling of the wounds. You were just, if I remember right, you were just starting to get your arms around when you were working with Lucius, like, oh, yeah, with that, I could probably, working with him or somebody like him, I could probably figure out, like, I could figure out where the wounds are at. Like, you had just started to get a sense of it. What's that?
Yeah. Yeah, when I'm not on top of them.
Right. You were just starting to get a sense of, hey, yeah, the sense of one of those things is so overwhelming here. Where it was before, like that barest hint of a whisper, it is a bus full of screaming children going over a cliff while on fire compared to a whisper kind of noise. Whatever was here, they've ripped the thing open and turned it into a furnace. You're pretty sure that this building itself encompasses the space where the cemetery used to be, all the way over to where the other building was at least, and everything in here is wound.
It feels like they've intentionally expanded the zone.
And they not so much expanded but intensified, and the whole thing has been, it's like they kept the wound open and then attached like electrodes all the way around it, metaphorically speaking. And that's where that whole feels like the thing in the Matrix kind of feel is, because whatever's happening here, they're doing stuff with it. Alicia would have some science for this, so would Leo. They're actually, well, yeah, they're doing something with the energy and the potential here, and mechanically doing something.
My guess would be that having identified the up aspect of that they've not only expanded it, but they've tried to tilt the probabilities even further so that the odds are even more in their favor.
Yep.
Actually expand that out from the wound itself.
So they're using the potential of the wound to benefit themselves, but at the same time, well, accomplish stuff, and at the same time using that same potential to keep it under control. But that whole sense, like using the wound's energy to keep the wounds under control, has that kind of horrifying hindsight statement of the old Texaco ads from the 60s saying, we're extracting enough gasoline every year to melt the ice caps.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, you're using its own energy to control it. I'm sure that will never backfire, spiral out of control or anything else, you know. There's just, but actually, I think this is fair. Something is going to happen, but before that happens, do you want to take the measure of thing, like assess the situation? I've kind of told you some other, quite a bit of the stuff here. I think that may even be unnecessary because I sort of just gave you all that stuff, but it all comes at you in a rush. Okay? And that rush, this horrifying realization of what they're doing here, I think is going to be a powerful blow. Because the ghosts have been, it doesn't even feel like they've been killed. It feels like they've been blasted away. You've been able to establish the power of that spiritual energy, the spirit energy, literally, is anathema to whatever the wounds are. And this wound here is so powerful, it's blasted all this stuff away. You are a ghost. So between the realization of what they're doing here and the actual just intensity of the energy level here, I think it is actually very potentially bad for you here. So, would you?
A concern of mine when I went into this. So,
well, you've learned a lot. Now we just have to figure out how the laws of karma are quite clear. All debts must be paid in full. So, how about we take a powerful blow and see how badly or how well Charlotte weathers this thing.
Is that just a straight roll?
You roll conditions. There's a die thing up above your conditions that you roll. You want low, which is why it's good that there's no bonuses if there's no bonuses. A 7. A 7 is not too bad. Take a powerful blow. When you take a powerful blow, roll plus conditions marked. On a 10 plus, choose 1. On a 7 to 9, choose 1 from that lower list. You lash out verbally. That's not really functionally an option. Take advantage of your influence inflicted condition. You give ground. Your opposition gets an opportunity, or you struggle past the pain and mark 2 conditions.
Okay.
I can totally. I've got give ground. Like, I mean, that's easy. If you want to go that route, it's very easy to figure out what that looks like. But taking 2 conditions is pretty easy to figure out what that looks like too.
No, I think what her immediate response would be to, pull back, so
Okay.
give ground.
Do you? Okay, since this gives the opportunity, the opposition an opportunity. Some of what happens. So somewhere in the process of you like taking in this, and it's really kind of really a lot of like wide-eyed flashes as you take this stuff in, and you're like, I got to get out of here. This is bad. It hurts. And it burns, and it's horrible, and what are they doing, and do they realize how bad this could be? And you realize part of what you're like processing or just starting to notice is that there's like a klaxon going off, and basically has been since you showed up, and you flee as much as you're able to, first through the walls, and finally when you're far enough away from the wound, like back into the shadow and stuff, and retrace your steps and get out of there.
But I'm not going to go straight back to where I was in case they have some way of tracing me.
Okay, where are you going to go?
There is a good question.
I will let you ponder that for a second. And because again, you want to stick with, you're fleeing this and you're giving them an opportunity. So I think it should probably be someplace familiar, but I'll let you turn that over for a bit. And we're gonna. Okay.
I have 2 things coming to mind, so we're good there.
Let's go to Leo. Harry, we might not get to your thing because I don't even know. I'm not even sure. That may require all the team kind of coming back together. Is that okay? Also, kind of difficult to. I want to make sure that you're. I want you to be able to talk when we're doing ridiculously, insanely dangerous things of you trying to hunt down your own self from the future. All right, cool. Harry Manson.
Actually, this will be really easy if Harry just goes to like the tallest building in town and shakes a bag of chips and says, "I'm feeling bad."
Hey there, kiddo. Zoom. God, now I want chips. Okay. So, Leo, Vector takes you down to a so it's basically a medical bay, where see, okay, tell me if this would make sense technologically. I gotta bow to your expertise on this. Did you end up watching, I got asking the player, did you end up watching the Altered Carbon TV show?
I watched like 2.5 episodes of it, but I have been super busy.
Oh, that's fine. I can't remember if so there was a thing that they did in the show there where if people they could do like sort of accelerated time, like put them in a virtual reality and sort of accelerate the time.
Is this where Poe is helping out the
girl? Right.
Yeah. I got that far.
So my thought here is that they kind of put her into sort of a virtual reality that's it's not effectively therapeutic, but it's just pleasant, not saccharine, but just non-confrontationally pleasant as it can be.
That's actually, that whole thing is Generation 4 of Leo's technology. So yes, that's totally on.
Yeah, so they found and it would have been something that they stole that probably that Rook extrapolated, or somebody did. They still had Rossum, so some of what they can do do on one-offs as hypertech, I mean, Rossum figured out the whole idea of cloning by basically seeing Otto and going, "Oh shit, I didn't even think of doing that." Um, so yeah, some of that stuff. Anyway, so yeah, that kind of, it's like that without the healing stuff that they were doing with Poe. Um, anyway, so she's kind of in a, I don't want to say suspended animation, but basically a pod kind of thing. It's like she's, you know, her body's mechanical. It's in, you know, as good a shape as it's always been in. And we just try to keep her comfortable as much as we can. The sim doesn't draw much power, so. Do you want to be alone, or?
Can you bring her out, or can you put me in?
I mean, we've never really gotten her to communicate in either one. I can put you in. I mean, just put you on a table, trodes, and that's it. He won't go in, and I don't really feel like it's my place. I guess he tried a couple times a long time ago, but he won't go. You know, he's so sad about her, you know. He just, you know. But yeah, we can put her in. Table's right here, and he'll get it set up. It's like, you know, it's a VR headset. It's not complicated tech in his time to get it set up and stuff. So.
Okay, yeah, I trust you with my brain. Yeah, it's all good.
Well, it's pretty. The most nerve-wracking thing about the whole thing is that the thing that goes on your head and kind of goes over your eyes and stuff like that. It's got like a big Rook logo on the side. That's a little bit. You didn't need to see that, but anyway. So if you're talking about this sort of saccharine safe space in here, what does that look like? What's this? Just, well, or I can say that. You know, what I'm thinking is like a weirdly kind of the same back lawn, you know, sun-drenched, you know, Alice in Wonderland back lawn that Charlotte had a vision of when she was remembering her family back in the past, kind of a thing. But it's just like, just sort of a unassuming sunlit lawn with a pond with ducks and just, you know, nothing really happening. Butterflies.
The one active element that would calm her down probably would be music. So
okay.
Some source of music.
Yeah, and it's really just non-directional, like like plucked strings. I don't want to say a harp necessarily, but just really violins. There you go. But just very. Donna Noble has been saved. Donna Noble. Anyway, so she is. I'm gonna say sitting on a bench, like. Not close to, but near the pond, and just sitting there. Head's not really looking at anything, just kind of sitting there. The uncomfortable thought that you have in your mind is like, you know, the asylum patients who just are wheeled from place to place but aren't really interacting with anything. That kind of listlessness. That you have. What do you do?
I'm gonna get close and see if she acknowledges me.
You'll probably have to kind of. I mean, she doesn't look up initially when you first get it. How do you look in here? Are you in the suit? Are you just? What do you? How do you look?
No, just me. Just usual red jacket, messy hair.
Okay. Do you? I mean, do you just kneel in front of her?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't like?
Well, I want like Provoke is so angry, and it feels like, and it's also superior, which isn't right. I want this to be like it's almost a comfort and support, really. But so tell me, what are you aiming at here?
Let me lay down some fiction before you see where that goes. How
Sure.
about that?
What I want to see is like, in what way are you just trying to get her to like engage in outside stimuli, which seems to be the biggest thing?
Kind of, yeah. Like, if the bot didn't come in here and do this, then this will be an unusual experience for her.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's been. I mean, if Vector's never seen it done, you can walk it back timeline-wise to at least 5, if not 10 years that he's done. Now, that doesn't mean she's been here alone for 5 or 10 years, because it's super subjective. But yeah, I mean, certainly, and he wouldn't. You can't imagine, since you're just sort of, it's your own. What do I want to say? Manifestation of yourself, your self-manifestation here. You can't imagine his would have been like yours, because his self-image is shit. So.
We got to work on that.
By comparison. So, tell me what you're doing, and then we'll go from there.
So basically, back when they started dating, back when she was first built, they would go to the movies, or they would go hang out, and they would just comfortably rest next to each other, and they would stay in contact. And he is going to sit down and wait to see if she resists. If she doesn't, he will just draw her in and try to reestablish that old familiar comfort.
So, okay. This absolutely works for me. I want it to be, essentially, I want it to be a comfort and support role, although functionally, again, with NPCs, this doesn't really do anything. It's the right move for this. And I'm aware of the fact that you have a penalty on it right now, but that actually feels kind of weird, because it feels kind of good, because you've got this emotional turmoil walking into this place where you're trying to project calm and connection and also that kind of stuff. So there's a lot you're trying to keep under wraps here. But I think that's the move.
Okay,
does that sound right? I can't think of anything else other than mundane in this case, and I think comfort and support. I mean, you are comforting her. That's literally what you're doing.
Yeah. Do I have influence?
Yes. Oh, look at that. So the influence counteracts one point of the penalty. That's profound. That's nice stuff. Okay. So I guess my biggest problem is that provoke is like what I always think of as like, I want this for convince, but there is no convince. There's just like, I want you to do this thing.
Well, maybe he doesn't actually want her to do anything.
Right, yeah.
Maybe he's just creating a space where she can do what she likes.
Let me ask you a question. I think this is the most appropriate thing, because this actually goes back to the comfort and support. What condition do you clear?
For her?
Yeah.
I think that what she's probably feeling right now most closely aligns to hopeless.
Okay. I mean, she's, for all intents and purposes, got all of them. I'm just trying to figure out what brick gets pulled out of that wall. And I like that. you were saying that you guys just sort of like sat next to each other and just sort of had physical contact. Was there hand holding? Was there any particular what's the word I'm looking for?
Numa actually told the story to Edith when she went for her certification.
Right.
And there's 3 long paragraphs that I just dumped in a Roll20 chat, which tell the whole story. But yeah, it was just close physical human contact. Kind of defying the whole idea of she being a robot life form by him treating her like he would any other person.
Right. I was just thinking if there was some sort of little physical tick is the word I'm thinking of. It's not the right word. A little like, thing, like a back scratch that, or some sort of like little tiny physical intimacy thing that was like a specific kind of thing. I think I know what it is. Okay, so you kind of get in there close. First you kneel and kind of get in front of her eyes, but then you kind of just sort of shift around on the seat and just kind of get in there and kind of put your arm around her?
Yeah.
Okay. And nothing really happens initially. There's not really any reaction. It's the body movement even to kind of, it doesn't feel so much like, it just feels like she's sort of tipping your way because your arm went around her. And it's like that for it's like that for an interminable amount of time. Hey, this is a timeless space. This goes on for a bit.
The lesson that these two learned in their relationship, among many other things, was patience.
Yeah, the way I was going to finish this is Leo has demonstrated that he is, when it comes to Numa, if nothing else, insanely patient. Or if not insanely, then certainly like that is the core pillar of the entire thing is patience. After this time is after this, and where you're just sort of being, you feel her tip her head and lay it on your shoulder and let out this kind of, actually inhale and there's a little, it's something my kids do, and I do it sometimes too, I guess. So I guess they got it from me. But this kind of thing is like just before you sigh, you kind of inhale for a sec, and your breath kind of hitches, and then you exhale. And she does that. It was you always associate with like from back in that time. It was a sense of contentment, but at the same time, kind of like releasing of stress, because the whole situation, while wondrous and amazing and whatever, it was also, there was a lot of stress and tension about it because just trying to understand what was new. And she was releasing that, and you feel a bit of that go, which may be the only first step that you actually want in this situation so far. How long do you just stay with that and just let that continue?
I literally have nothing better to do. I want you to understand.
Oh, yeah. I completely. So this will be what Leo does. And can I say thank you, Dice, for giving us such a nice roll for this particular thing, because I was worried after that 5 on the same mundane roll.
I was kind of hoping for a blow up sooner or later, and that was convenient. So
that was a really good time for it, given who you were dealing with, and then to have it turn around when you come back to Numa was very nice. Does Numa's body have a pulse? This would have been the Mark II.
It does, because she needs to feel one to feel comfortable.
Sure. Okay.
Like we as human beings need to have that sense of our own bodies. And Leo built that in specifically for her comfort.
Okay, so we're just gonna leave you guys on the bench, and it's a classic anime shot of like nothing happens for the longest time because it's dramatically appropriate, and also it's super easy to animate. And then her head finally leans over, and you hear the sigh, and the camera just keeps backing up from that on the bench, and then kind of whites out. It does, the camera light blows out, and we all just go white. And
I'm good with that. Yeah.
Vector comes back up to the group. He's like, okay, so he's got the interface on, and he's dealing with Numa. Her vitals are doing stuff. I don't understand any of it, but none of it's scary, and nothing's beeping. How long do we leave him? And Numa says, until he fixes it. So, what are the rest of us going to do? So Alicia, I had asked questions here. Whatever happened to Alicia Chen? How can I get to Jason
Yes.
here?
What are we going to do? I'd like to go have a chat with Jason Quill.
I think you need to assess the situation then. So why don't you roll superior?
Oh.
Come on. Why is that a bad thing? Has people been screwing with your superior?
No. My superior's fine.
Okay. What was that? Oh, then.
Here I'm being all nice and impulsive.
Well, yeah, but you need to know
There we go.
You need to know where to go. All right.
Well,
So
yes.
look at the questions there, and see what here can I use to get to Jason Quill most quickly, or how you can change that to a how. And this is you getting on like news nets, networks, doing Alicia type stuff.
Right.
The comforting thing here is if something happened to you on this timeline, he's going to be well out of practice dealing with you.
He was never in practice dealing with me.
The fact that you used to play him and can still say that so snarkily is glorious. I love it so much. Okay, so you figure out what you want to do with the question there. Charlotte, have you figured out where you're going to go? Or do you call out to the team, or is it not so much a physical thing that you do to, do you just run and
Help.
then and then yell for help, or what?
Yeah, my response is, one would be kind of pursuing the initial impetus, which is, go to another graveyard that I'm familiar with.
Right. But in the meantime, holler for people, or at least, or not.
They'll probably hear something over the whiskers, about some like, oh, cheese and crackers.
The other thing as you're getting out of there and as you're getting out sort of into the shadows of the city and stuff, I don't want to say that the city is running on this energy, but it's kind of permeated the city.
Okay.
And it's permeated it through the mechanical aspects of it. So in a lot of ways, it's not scientifically accurate to say that the city's running on this wound power, but boy, it's close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades. And you sense that, as you're like moving through the city, it's like this stuff is like everywhere.
Did this just turn into Final Fantasy VII?
Boy, I don't know. That is so far back, and when that's
It did.
It did it? Okay. I don't even think I played Final Fantasy VII all the way to the end. Is that the one with Tifa and
Yeah.
the guy with the gun arm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's if it turned into Final Fantasy VII and that's a bad thing, I apologize. And if not,
Oh, that's amazing.
then you're welcome. I'll need to go and read up on Final Fantasy VII. Concord, what are you doing? Harry is apparently I mean, in part of this conversation, Alicia has this look in her eye, like somebody gonna get stabbed and then kicked and then stabbed again in the same hole, and is doing stuff on a computer. Harry seems to be grimly, getting the information, as much information as he can about the last mission that his other alternate self went on, so that he can apparently replicate that.
And then you hear
And then Charlotte's
Charlotte
like,
say,
what does she say? You broke up right there. She says,
cheese and crackers.
cheese and
"Cheese
crackers.
and crackers."
And yeah, she's sounds more than a little bit.
Crackers.
Yeah, she sounds more than a little bit shook. Over comms. So, what do you do? I will say this in the more soul-like mindset that you occasionally allow yourself, you can somewhat appreciate, or at least possibly see as an upside here, that everything that happened here didn't involve you, so you're kind of a wild card that nobody has got counters for. Maybe? Whatever you guys end up doing. Or maybe they figured out how to counter you
Assuming
right.
it involves conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. Considering his shooting things involves having compassion for the people he's about to shoot, which is just
What?
probably.
No.
It has
No.
not compassion for them, but compassion in general, feeling compassion for somebody.
Compassion about the situation.
Yeah.
That's the important bit.
Yep. So, what are you thinking? Not necessarily what are you doing, but what's on your mind?
Well, that is definitely a difficult question. I will say this: me as a player has had like a headache since like noon today.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
So, oh no. So I've definitely kind of been in like that sort of like space.
I'm sorry.
This afternoon. So it's like
If we don't,
definitely.
you don't have to
definitely
come up
right
with anything
now.
right now.
I was gonna say, yeah, definitely right now, like my ability to engage with the situation is already kind of like bleh.
That's
So
okay.
it's like
Let's
right now I know that Adam, like the first thing that would come to my thought is just like before bad stuff happened, it would have been like, just sort of go down to where Leo is with future Numa, and just sort of be there ready to have like the discussion with him of, okay, man, this is kind of your situation. What do we do?
Future Numa, who is in a weird way past Arya, like she hasn't moved or different. She's not even really Arya because she went through a lot worse than what Arya did for a lot.
Arya was the mild, successful coping case. Yeah, this is
well, it went on for. I mean, they didn't get her back for a lot longer.
And it wasn't just we'll slip a message in here.
Yeah, no, it was like, oh, we've got her. Hot damn. Let's do this.
Bill, what was the name you used for future Numa? Was it Kron?
Yep.
Okay. Kronbot Vector.
Kronbot Vector. Okay.
I'm just trying to keep them straight in my head. I don't know. Like that would be like the first thing I would do, but
Okay.
Well, impulsiveness tells me that cheese and crackers. Oh no.
Yeah, that might be.
Charlotte's in danger. Let's go see where this takes us.
Yeah, that might be the thing. Let's process all that next bat time, I think, because we're getting to be that. It's getting to be that time. Is that cool? Is that cool with everybody?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So this weird session all in the room. Did it seem like that went by really fast to everybody? Because it seemed like that went really fast. To me. Maybe not.
I'm not the best judge
maybe
for
not
this.
for maybe not for Mike. I am so sorry, man. First, let me go through the group thing, the end of session stuff, and then I have other questions that are also relevant. Alicia, closer to the team, further away from the team, more into your own image of yourself.
I'm going to say, and I have no idea what the ramifications of this are, because I always try to just answer the question without looking at the mechanics, because
yeah.
I'm going to say growing away from the team, which
I can
doesn't
see
do
that.
shit for me, but it's sort of like I'm seeing sort of the dark side of at least a couple of the
Choices.
members of the team, of both Leo and Jason, and that's sort of like, yeah, they need a good slapping around.
Do you want to take influence away from Jason?
Does Jason have influence over me?
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to have influence taken away from Jason.
There, it does get you something.
Which will make our date next Saturday all the more interesting.
Yes. See, this is, it's the same kind of thing as how Jason took away influence from his dad by virtue of like not his dad, and then when he got to his dad, he was able to like go, listen, jackhole. Bill. Sorry, Leo.
I'm going to say it grew closer to the team. Definitely that's going to have to be Concord. So,
okay.
In the sense of, not necessarily in the sense of like Concord did something for me immediately, but as Leo thinks back, he's going to be like, I need him right now. Everything that he has helped me with is going to help me bring her back. He's kind of drawing strength from all the stuff that's done for him in the past.
Yeah.
I also had enough potential for an advance. I took my second adult move. This overwhelm vulnerable foe. So somebody's going to get an ass kicking.
I love it. Okay. Harry. Closer, further away, into your own image of yourself. I would be very interested to find out more at some later time what Harry thinks about what he learned about what this particular alternate future Harry version did and acted and all that kind of stuff. What he thinks about that. Harry is typing. Harry is still typing. Into the image because he is having to really go find himself, literally. Ha! Love it. All right, shift your labels. Shift one up, one down as you see fit. Charlotte, closer to the team, further away from the team, more into your own image of yourself. I mean, it's always a safe bet to say more into your own image of yourself because then you can just shift labels and stuff like that.
Whenever I'm doing ghosty things. So yeah, I think I'll keep with that and what kind of experience I've had from the event.
Next session, we get to see what you think of, like, whether or not people are leaping to your oh cheese and crackers, like, oh cheese and crackers, oh cheese and crackers, Charlotte's in danger, we have to go now. Just like
kiss your mother with that mouth.
Completely, yeah. Language. Okay, and finally, Concord.
We're gonna go image of ourself.
Okay, that's fair. All right, thank
We're
you.
gonna go with the easy one.
Thank you for all of that. I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna stop recording because I want to go into like the scheduling and all that other kind of stuff. But then I have questions about this alternate future weirdness reality thing. So that's that. Stop recording.